Direct. This is WrestlePod. Welcome to the program. Ian Beaumont here. Good to be with you this week. We are just our Superstar Shakeup. And this is kind of interesting because who knows what WWE could do here. So instead of trying to predict what they would do, I've just taken a look at the roster and thought, what would I do in this situation? So here, for you this week, is a look at how I would book the Superstar Shakeup. Okay, so the first thing to think about here is that you want to set up certain storylines going forward. It's those storylines that will basically set in motion everything else you're going to do. So my thoughts were kind of, okay, what storylines do I most need? Where do I want people the most to get the best product out? So there's a couple of things going on. First, there is one NXT call-up. It affects 3 separate divisions of the roster, and it's a big call-up. But my thought here would be, even though they weren't brought up last week, but you had Authors of Pain brought up last week on Raw to help bolster a Raw tag division that was looking, it's been looking a little weak, to be honest with you. And I would bring up Sanity to Raw and have them come into the women's division, the tag team division, and the mid-card division, Intercontinental US, whichever one it will end up being. You'll find out what it will be with me in a minute. But let's start with the women. I'm not making a lot of moves here because mostly everybody's in pretty much the right place. However, I am making 2 big moves each way. Going from Raw to SmackDown, I'm actually moving, I would actually move Alexa Bliss and Asuka. Now, we think Asuka's going to move anyway, but I would do that. Because now is the time for kind of a rebuilding operation with her. The streak is over, so now you have to book her differently. You have to kind of have her maybe, when we bring her back, maybe she goes on a little bit of a losing streak for a while, a couple of months, not longer than that. I wouldn't want it to be any longer. But you'd have her, or maybe what you do is you'd have her lose against most of the big names, but you'd have her maybe win against some of the smaller ones, the ones lower down the women's card. So that's a kind of angle I want to build with her. And Alexa Bliss, her story is, well, she's done, she got her ass handed to her by Nia Jax, so she's running away from that back to SmackDown. And quite frankly, at the moment, the rosters are looking, I think, pretty good generally. But I think it'd be nice for Alexa Bliss and Asuka to go to SmackDown. Who would I bring over from SmackDown to Raw? Becky Lynch, because quite honestly, she's done nothing on SmackDown, and I need her for this particular storyline I've got idea that I'm working on. And Charlotte Flair. So yes, Charlotte Flair, having just lost the women's title, SmackDown women's title, yes, she gets pushed back to Raw with Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Sasha Banks. Yes, the 4 horsewomen of WWE. I want to bring them together. And I want to do it as a storyline so that what you set up is this thing where you're building up eventually to a 4 horsewomen versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler and the other MMA 4 horsewomen eventually. However, to do that, you have to start the process, and the process has to begin with the 4 horsewomen being together. So what you'll get is you will get, at some point, Backlash or maybe Money in the Bank, the blow-off of this Sasha Banks and Bayley feud. And at the end of the match, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair come down, and you have this moment in the ring where they're trying to get everybody together again. Even though, either Sasha's just beaten Bayley or Bayley's just beaten Sasha, whichever one, it doesn't matter at this point. But that would be to set up the 4 horsewomen as the dominant women's faction on Raw. And literally you would have them dominate the competition. And that's a thing. And I really want that to be a thing. Because look at who you've got on Raw at the moment with them. You've got Ronda Rousey. You've got Ember Moon. You've got Mickie James, Nia Jax, and as I suggested, Nikki Cross coming up as part of Sanity. And lower down the card, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Alicia Fox, Sonya Deville. I mean, Deville is and Mandy Rose are kind of coming up into that, towards that upper echelon. But they are, there's a lot of talent on Raw. And it's a stacked lineup. So, if you're going to... Yes, I would keep Absolution together at this point. I would not separate them. So I would definitely look towards having a 4 horsewomen of WWE situation on Raw. That would be, I think, a great storyline, setting up a confrontation, have them have confrontations, individual confrontations on pay-per-view with Ronda Rousey. And then maybe next year, when Shayna Baszler is ready and can come up to the main roster, if she's ready by that point, then you can start really building that 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen angle. It's just a case of getting the others to come in. But as I say, we will see if that happens. So, yeah, having moved Alexa Bliss and Asuka over to SmackDown, there you have Billie Kay, you have Peyton Royce, Carmella, Naomi, Natalya, Ruby Wyatt, Lana, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, and Tamina. Again, that might seem a little less stacked, but you have a top 4 there in Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and in my view, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. Even though they're just call-ups, they're already, in my view, championship contenders. More so even than Carmella, Naomi, and Natalya, who are, say, down, a little bit down the pecking order now. But in my view, any one of that top 8, from Alexa down to Ruby Riott, you got some class championship matches coming up there. Some really great ones. I'd be interested in seeing how that goes. So, On to the tag team division, and here I've not done so many moves, mainly because in order to rebuild Raw's tag team division, which got decimated by Braun Strowman, you have to potentially bring in some new talent. So, in my view, I would take the Miztourage, Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, and the Revival, and I would transfer them to SmackDown. SmackDown has a need for some really decent tag teams, and those guys and all those guys have the potential to be really decent. But at the moment, they're on a roster where you've got the Authors of Pain, you've got the Bar currently. Now, maybe not for much longer. There's a slight tease about what I'm doing there. You got the Good Brothers, the Balor Club, otherwise known as Gallows and Anderson. Matt and Jeff Hardy, although now it looks like it's going to be Woken Matt and Woken Wyatt. That's kind of good. And Heath Slater and Rhino are kind of thereabouts as well. So take those two out, move them across. But move only one team from SmackDown to Raw. The Usos. And then, as a call-up, you bring in Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf from Sanity as a tag team there. And that makes a pretty well-stacked tag team division. So, yeah, I like the idea of Authors of Pain going up against Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf. That is, in my view, that's a really great combination. But also, either of those versus Gallows and Anderson look like a great match. So on SmackDown, you then have the New Day, who I would actually split Kofi Kingston off from the New Day at this point. And some people are saying, oh, you should split Xavier Woods off. No. Leave Xavier there. He can come into a singles thing at any point and still be part of the New Day team. That I have got no problem with. But I have a problem with Kofi Kingston being held in a tag team situation like that. It's time to break him away. So, Xavier Woods and Big E as the New Day. The Bludgeon Brothers, of course. So, you've now got the Miztourage and the Revival in there. And then, you've got three tag teams who really SmackDown has done nothing with. But this should be a chance for them to step up. So you've got the Ascension, the Colons, and the Singh Brothers, and also potentially as well Breezango. I mean, I would look at splitting them eventually, but I want to favor a little bit the SmackDown tag team side, because rather than having some of the big guys and the big names, I want to favor it in a different way. I want to shape it slightly differently. So, yeah, the Miztourage, the Revival, the Ascension, the Colons, the Singh Brothers, Breezango. I'm looking to add in a lot of depth underneath, like New Day and the Bludgeon Brothers, who look like being. I would still like to leave them on SmackDown as the top tag teams, but use those guys to bring up some of the others. especially the likes of the Ascension, the Cologne, the Singh brothers, and Breezango, because the Singh brothers have been really misused, being part of being sort of paired up with Jinder Mahal. They're a damn good tag team. They were known as the Bollywood Boys, and it's about time they had some love on the tag team scene. So that's what I would do. Then, when it comes to the Intercontinental and stroke US title scene, my mid-card, it looked a little more, when I looked at it, I thought, it's a bigger mid-card on SmackDown at the moment than it is on Raw. And I thought, that needs rebalancing. And so that's what I've done. Jason Jordan has gone over to SmackDown from Raw, but I brought across from SmackDown to Raw Baron Corbin, Jinder Mahal, and Chad Gable. Yes, I'm bringing the US Championship over to SmackDown. Over to Raw. And the Intercontinental Championship will go over, although it will go over in a different way. I have my reasons for sort of doing that. I'm going, I would dearly love... I know The Miz is probably taking a little time off to be a new father, but I'd dearly love him to win that title back. I'm going to say that the Intercontinental Championship goes across to SmackDown. And the US Championship goes across to Raw. So we swap the mid-card titles again. So that means on Raw with the US Championship, you have Jinder Mahal, you have Baron Corbin, Chad Gable, Big Cass, The Big Show, Kurt Hawkins, Elias, Goldust, Kane, Neville, supposedly, and R-Truth. Whereas on SmackDown, there you'd have like Aiden English, Jason Jordan, Dolph Ziggler, Mike Kanellis, who really, if he's now back in harness, as it were, he should be being built up now for a mid-card title run. There's no two ways about that. Then you got Randy Orton, you got Rusev, you got Sin Cara, you got Ty Dillinger, and you got Zack Ryder. Now, I did think about moving Randy Orton across to Raw, but really, at that point, it's like, okay, who would I didn't want to do, like, major wholesale change. You could take him across and put R-Truth on SmackDown and have them use him a little better, but I don't know. That's my thing. I really feel like at this point I want to put, Randy Orton is kind of, I think, coming towards the end of his full-time career. He'll probably soon go part-time. And that's, as I say, that's down the road. That's going to happen soon, I think. But yeah, I probably would. And as I said, again, I would have called up Eric Young to the Raw US Championship thing, and then you're gonna say, okay, now it's rebalanced badly the other way. But remember, Raw is still at the moment 3 hours, so Raw could do with a little more depth there. Now, the World Championship and Universal Championship scene, the main event scene. Here, at the moment, there's a little bit of, again, that 3 hour, 2 hour split. It means it can't be perfectly half and half. It has to be you have to play it a little. So The Miz has to go over to SmackDown. There's no two ways about it. We have to have that feud with Daniel Bryan. So yeah, Miz over to SmackDown, and I'd split up the bar, and I'd send Cesaro over to SmackDown, because there I think he can go into the World Championship scene and into the Intercontinental. Part of the thing with how I've set this up is, well, obviously there's a number of people in the mid card who probably might be sort of outside bets for the IC or the US title. You have those in the main event scene who can go down and give that scene a little more weight, a little more credence. So I would send Cesaro over to SmackDown for that exact reason, because he can go between main event and the mid-card title. And I would send to Raw Chris Jericho, and only Chris Jericho. Because we don't know how much longer Brock Lesnar's going to be around. That's the thing here. We do not know. He may be leaving after the Greatest Royal Rumble. He may be leaving after SummerSlam. He may not be leaving for another couple of years. Yeah, we've heard some reports saying it's a multi-year deal. We don't know. So, but honestly, at the moment, I'm kind of fed up with Brock Lesnar being the Universal Champion. So, you've just had Bobby Lashley come in on Raw. You got Braun Strowman there. Obviously, Brock Lesnar. You got Dean Ambrose. You got Finn Balor. You got Jeff Hardy, who really should be in that main event scene. Without a shadow of doubt. You got Roman Reigns, of course. You got Samoa Joe. You got Seth Rollins there. And Sheamus. And now Chris Jericho comes in. I think that's a pretty stacked Universal Championship card. And yeah, Jericho probably wouldn't be necessarily going for the Universal Championship a lot. But he would definitely be, if you had somebody, let's say Bobby Lashley became Universal Champion. You want him to face someone who is a credible threat, but not in the power. If you're gonna have Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, powerhouse versus powerhouse, that's fine. But you need to show Lashley has more depth. That way, you put him in a program with Jericho, and he shows how much depth he has. If you've watched Impact, you know how much depth he has. But this is WWE, so they will need someone like Chris Jericho in there to work a program with him to put him over quite strongly. And that's why Chris Jericho gets moved across. So, on the WWE World Championship scene on SmackDown, you have AJ Styles, you have Bobby Roode, who I'm bringing up because he can go between Intercontinental and between mid-card and upper-card. He is a strong upper-card talent. No two ways about it. He should be in that main event scene for sure. You got Daniel Bryan there. Shelton Benjamin, I'd split him up from Chad Gable, as I think you probably realized earlier, and put him in the main event scene because he is well capable. Same with Kofi Kingston. Take him out from the tag team, put him in the big picture, main title, because he is, again, he can really help that world title scene. Even if he never wins, I'd like him to. I'd like him and Shelton both to win the world title once, but at least once. But you've got them. You've got Shinsuke Nakamura. You got the Miz, of course. John Cena, but we don't know how much he's going to be around. And of course Cesaro, who I think has been underutilized, and it's time to bring him up again. So that is how I would book the Superstar Shakeup. That's how the whole lineups would line up, as it were. What do you think? I mean, is there anybody else that you might think, oh, we could call them up from NXT? Well, I mean, there has been talk of Drew McIntyre coming up, and honestly, I'd put him on SmackDown if that was the case. I'm not sure they'll bring him up just yet, but I'd be inclined to. As I say, we've already brought up Eric Young. Johnny Gargano? I might. But again, he'd have to be SmackDown for a while. Because I think that would be the best place for him. As far as the rest go, I'm really not seeing... Well, Tommaso Ciampa would come up as a really good heel, but I just don't know. I'm kind of two minds about whether I'd bring him. I wouldn't bring him up now, and I wouldn't bring him up with Johnny Gargano, because I kind of want to see Gargano come up first, then Ciampa come behind, and have that actually be a real point of contention between them. You know, yeah, I fired you from NXT, I got you fired from NXT, then you got back in, then you got called up before me. I kind of want to see that as an angle between these two. So, but yeah, I'm kind of thinking that I would bring up Gargano after SummerSlam, and then Ciampa after Survivor Series. What do you think? What do you think of all this? Whatever your thoughts, leave a comment down below and let's talk about it. Like this video, share it on social media with all your friends, subscribe to Ian Beaumont Live and Direct for more programming just like this. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Ian Beaumont Live and Direct. And until next time, thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay tuned.